Star Trek's returning captain can finally explain the Enterprise's missing era thanks to the upcoming Star Trek Section 31 film. Star Trek now has the opportunity to reveal more about one missing era of the USS Enterprise. The Enterprise has been one of Starfleet's most famous ships since Captain Jonathan Archer Scott Bakula set out on the Enterprise M01 2151 as part of humanity's first interstellar mission of exploration. Since then, several Federation starships have carried the name Enterprise, including the vessels of Captain James T. Kirk, William Shatner, and Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart. While the voyages of Kirk's Enterprise and Picard's Enterprise D are well documented, there are a few holes throughout the history of ships named Enterprise. After Kirk's original ship was destroyed in Star Trek III: The Search for Spock, he took over command of the Enterprise A for the rest of the Star Trek films. The Enterprise B made an appearance at the beginning of Star Trek Generations, but its voyages remain mostly a mystery. Even less is known about the Enterprise C, which only made one appearance in Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 3, Episode 15, Yesterday's Enterprise. Rachel Garrett's return in the Section 31 movie can reveal more about the Enterprise C era. Although much about the plot of Star Trek Section 31 remains unknown, the film will take place during Star Trek's Lost era of the early 24th century. Section 31 centers on Michelle Yeoh's Emperor Philippa Georgiou as she recruits a team for an important Black Ops Section 31 mission. Casey Roll will be portraying a young Rachel Garrett, who will act as Starfleet's representative on Georgiou's team. As seen in TNG's Yesterday's Enterprise, Tricia O'Neill's Rachel Garrett will eventually become captain of the USS Enterprise C. Much about the history of the Enterprise C remains unknown, leaving the door open for Star Trek Section 31 to fill in some of those blanks. Section 31 could reveal when and why the ship was first commissioned and who served as its first captain, presuming there was a different one before Rachel Garrett. As the flagship of the Federation, the Enterprise often participates in Starfleet's most important and dangerous missions, and the Enterprise C was likely no exception. Whether the Enterprise C makes an appearance in Section 31, the film could offer insight into some of the ship's earliest missions. What we know about the Enterprise C based on Star Trek canon in Star Trek: The Next Generation's Yesterday's Enterprise, the USS Enterprise D encountered a rift in spacetime. When the battle-damaged Enterprise C emerged from the wormhole, reality shifted, and the Enterprise D became a warship on the front lines of the Federation's war with the Klingon Empire. In the past, in 2344, the Enterprise C had engaged 4 Romulan warbirds after responding to a distress call at a Klingon outpost. When the Enterprise C drifted through the wormhole, the Klingon outpost was destroyed, and war later broke out between the Klingons and the Federation. Thanks to Guinan, Whoopi Goldberg, Captain Picard and his crew realized that the Enterprise C needed to return to its own time to restore the proper timeline. Although Captain Rachel Garrett was killed before the Enterprise C made it back through the wormhole, the ship's heroic sacrifice to protect the Klingon outpost impressed the Klingons. This strengthened the alliance between the Federation and the Klingons, which eventually led to a peace treaty. Star Trek: The Next Generation only offered a glimpse into the history of the Enterprise C, but the upcoming Star Trek film could reveal more about the ship and its future captain. In the vast expanse of the Star Trek universe, few vessels hold as much significance as the USS Enterprise. As the flagship of Starfleet, the Enterprise has carried explorers, scientists, and diplomats across the galaxy, embodying humanity's aspirations for peace, discovery, and unity. However, there's a missing chapter in the history of this iconic starship, a gap in time between the final mission of Captain Kirk's Enterprise A and the launch of Captain Picard's Enterprise D. For years, this period has remained largely unexplored. But with the upcoming return of one of Star Trek's legendary captains, there's a chance to finally shed light on this enigmatic era. When we think of the Enterprise, certain captains come to mind: Kirk, Picard, and more recently, Christopher Pike. Each has left an indelible mark on the franchise, with their respective eras chronicling pivotal moments in the Federation's history. Yet, after the events of Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, where Kirk and his crew embarked on their final mission aboard the Enterprise A, fans were left with an unresolved mystery. What happened in the decades between Kirk's final voyage and the introduction of the Enterprise D under Captain Picard in Star Trek: The Next Generation? For years, speculation has run rampant. Some believe that Starfleet decommissioned the Enterprise line after Kirk's era, while others theorize that a new Enterprise had been built but not yet introduced in canonical media. However, with the recent announcement of a returning captain, possibly William Shatner reprising his role as Kirk, or another fan-favorite captain like Jonathan Archer from Star Trek Enterprise, there's hope that this missing era may finally be explored. The Enterprise B was briefly introduced in Star Trek Generations, captained by John Harriman, and played a crucial role in the death of Captain Kirk, who was swept into the Nexus. However, beyond this fateful incident, the ship and its crew have remained largely a blank slate in the Star Trek canon. The Enterprise C, commanded by Captain Rachel Garrett, only made an appearance in the Next Generation episode Yesterday's Enterprise, an alternate timeline story that gave viewers just a glimpse of this ship's tragic fate defending a Klingon outpost. Together, these glimpses form a patchwork of history, leaving a tantalizing gap between the Enterprise's decommissioning and the launch of the Enterprise D. The missing era isn't just about ships and timelines, it's about the political and social landscape of the Federation. The years following the undiscovered country marked a crucial period of change, with the Khitomer Accords formalizing peace between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. This era of fragile peace would have been filled with political intrigue, as former enemies sought to forge alliances, while other threats, like the Romulans and Cardassians, loomed on the horizon. It was also a time of rapid technological advancement, with Starfleet pushing the boundaries of exploration further than ever before. Yet despite these rich narrative opportunities, the Star Trek franchise has largely skipped over this period. This is where the returning captain could play a pivotal role. Imagine a seasoned Captain Kirk somehow return from the Nexus, or a time-displaced Archer confronting the future, stepping into this unfamiliar era of peace with the Klingons and new galactic challenges. These captains, known for their decisive leadership in times of war and uncertainty, would find themselves navigating a delicate diplomatic landscape where their old methods might no longer apply. How would Kirk, whose adventures were often marked by daring heroics and last-minute victories, adapt to a Federation that now prioritizes diplomacy over combat? How would Archer, who laid the foundation for Starfleet's exploratory mission, handle the more complex political web of alliances that has emerged since his time? Such a storyline would allow Star Trek to delve into the complexities of leadership and legacy. Both captains represent Starfleet's earlier, more adventurous years, when exploration was still fraught with danger and the Federation was in its relative infancy. Yet, by revisiting these characters in a more mature phase of Starfleet history, the franchise could explore how even the most legendary captains must evolve with the times. Kirk, for instance, might struggle with his new role in a Starfleet that now emphasizes negotiation over action. Meanwhile, Archer, who dreamed of a united Federation, could reflect on how far his vision has come and whether it aligns with the present reality. Beyond the characters, such a series or film could finally provide a coherent narrative that bridges the gap between the original series and the Next Generation. It could explore how the Enterprise B and Enterprise C contributed to the Federation's development,